I never thought betrayal could taste like cheap diner coffee and the metallic tang of handcuffs. 1 minute. I'm Naomi Hargrove, the sharp-tongued investigative journalist who'd just blown open a corruption scandal that had the mayor's office sweating bullets. The next, I'm staring at my own reflection in a cracked bathroom mirror. But it's not my face, it's hers. Wrinkled skin sagging like old leather. Liver spots dotting hands that tremble when they reach up to touch cheeks that feel like sandpaper. And there, smirking back at me from the doorway, is my body, my lithe, 32-year-old frame, dressed in my favorite silk blouse, now worn by Evelyn Voss, my mentor, my confidant, the woman who'd raised me like a daughter after my parents died in that suspicious car wreck. "You're too old. Get a job," she spat in my voice. My perfect Midwestern inflection twisted into venom. Those words weren't for me. They were for the shell she'd dumped me into. A homeless bag lady named Martha, who'd frozen to death in a doorway 2 nights ago. But I heard them clear as a siren. And in that moment, I knew this wasn't an accident. This was excision. Surgical. Precise. Courtesy of the black market neurosurgeons Evelyn had on speed dial from her days running the city's underbelly. She'd swapped us to bury me alive in irrelevance, to steal my life and my exposé, the one that named her as the puppet master behind the mayor's bribes. I took the fall for her once before, framed for embezzling funds from our newsroom slush account when it was really her siphoning cash for her lover, the mayor himself. That mistake cost me 3 years in county lockup, my reputation shredded like confetti. But this was her masterpiece of cruelty. A body swap so seamless the world thought Evelyn Hargrove had suffered a nervous breakdown and vanished into the ether, while Martha's revival was just another welfare case. I lunged for her throat, but my new limbs, frail, arthritic, betrayed me, collapsing me to the cold tile floor of that Fleabag motel on the south side. She laughed, a sound like breaking glass in my ears, and walked out in my skin. That's when the hooks sank deep. I wasn't dead yet. And hell hath no fury like an old woman scorned in someone else's stolen youth. The rain hammered Chicago like it had a personal grudge, turning the streets into rivers of regret as I stumbled out of that motel. My shopping cart, Martha's lifeline, clattering behind me like a bad omen. It was 2025, and the city pulsed with the same indifferent hum, autonomous taxis splashing through puddles, holographic billboards hawking neural implants for enhanced living, folks glued to their augmented reality glasses, oblivious to the ghosts shuffling among them. I was one now, a specter in orthopedic shoes that pinched like accusations. My mind raced, piecing together the how of it all. Evelyn had access to the tech, experimental cortical mapping from a rogue lab in the Loop, the kind big pharma buried under NDAs and payoffs. She drugged me at our celebratory dinner after I handed her the finished exposé draft, the one that would have toppled her empire. Woke up mid-procedure, straps biting into wrists that weren't mine anymore. The surgeons, faces blurred by masks, muttering about neural transference integrity. Evelyn's voice, cold as Lake Michigan in January. "Make it clean, Doc. She's got too many loose ends." Loose ends. That's what I was to her now, a frayed thread in a sweater she'd knit from lies and power plays. I hunkered down in a cardboard lean-to under the L tracks in Pilsen, the murals of revolutionary heroes mocking my impotence. Martha's body was a prison, lungs that wheezed like a busted accordion, joints that screamed with every step, a bladder that leaked like state secrets. But my brain, sharp as the day I grilled that councilman on live TV, forcing his confession with nothing but a stare and a follow-up question. I scavenged a burner phone from a dumpster behind a bodega, cracked screen, but it lit up with a ghost of signal. First call, to my old contact at the CPD, Detective Ruiz, the one who'd whispered tips during my embezzlement trial. Naomi? That you? Jesus. You sound like my abuela after a bender. I fed him the line about a deep fake hack, testing waters. He bought it enough to meet me at a taqueria off Halstead, sliding me a flash drive under the table. Evelyn's financials. Red flagged for suspicious wire transfers to offshore accounts tied to the mayor's PAC. She's playing with fire.
Kid.
But if you're in deep,
Get out. Kid.
the word stung worse than the jalapenos. I wasn't a kid anymore. I was 83 years of hard miles in a frame that creaked like the L at rush hour. Nights blurred into fevered dreams of the swap. Evelyn in my body, schmoozing at galas, her laughter echoing through veins that used to pump my blood. She'd hidden the real secret. The car wreck that killed my parents wasn't drunk driving. It was a hit ordered by her to silence my dad, a whistleblower on the same corruption ring she'd later helm. I'd taken the fall for her embezzlement to protect the paper, thinking loyalty bought safety.
Fool. Now.
Every shadow hid her spies, the junkies she'd pay to tail me, the social workers who'd rehabilitate me into a psych ward. I plotted in whispers to myself, voice a gravelly rasp that turned heads, old lady talking to ghosts. Step 1. Infiltrate her world without a face she recognized. I dyed Martha's gray mop platinum with stolen salon scraps, layered on makeup from a drag queen's discarded palette, transforming into Nettie, a sassy retiree with a southern drawl pilfered from late-night soaps. Auditioned for a gig as a cleaning lady at Voss Media Tower, Evelyn's fortress of glass and steel overlooking the river. Experience? Honey, I've scrubbed more sins than you've got sins, I quipped to the HR drone, channeling every feisty grandma trope from the Hallmark Channel. Hired on the spot. Inside, the air hummed with privilege. Interns in Lululemon. Execs barking into earpieces about disrupting narratives. I mopped floors near her corner office, ears straining for crumbs. Heard her on a call. The old bat's buried.
Now.
About that mayor, tell him the files are ash.
Ash.
My files. The expose. Digitized and deleted. But I knew backups, cloud servers under aliases. Encrypted like Fort Knox. By week 2, tension coiled in my gut like a spring trap. Controversial decisions loomed. Do I poison her coffee? Risk Martha's soul in the bargain? No. Too quick. Too merciful. Revenge needed teeth. The kind that gnaws slow. I hacked her assistant's desktop during a smoke break, Martha's arthritic fingers fumbling a USB drive like a safecracker's pick. Pulled emails, Evelyn plotting to frame the mayor's rival for the embezzlement I'd once shouldered, clearing her path to city council. And there, buried in attachments, the swap logs, timestamps matching my blackout. Surgeon names linked to black site clinics.
Proof.
But wielding it meant exposure. Meant they'd swap me again. Into something worse, a coma patient, a child, oblivion. I waited in the service elevator, mirrors reflecting a hag's resolve. Betrayal's blade cut deep, but mine would twist. I leaked a teaser to an anonymous blog. Voss Media's queen, body snatcher or breakdown? Watch the shares spike from a library computer. Evelyn's empire twitching like a cornered rat. She ramped security. But I was the ghost in the machine now, whispering doubts to underlings, planting doubts like weeds in her garden of lies. One night, as thunder rattled the tower, I cornered her reflection in the executive washroom mirror. She didn't see me, just adjusted my old pearl earrings, humming a tune from our shared past. You took everything, I murmured to the empty air. But I'll take your name. The heist of Evelyn's life began in earnest under a blood moon that painted the Chicago skyline in crimson hues. The kind of night where the wind off the lake carries whispers of old grudges from the Great Fire itself. I'd clawed my way from the gutters to her inner sanctum. Nettie, the night janitor, now trusted enough to handle her dry cleaning. Ironic. Laundering the stains of a stolen soul. My body, her vessel, moved with predatory grace through boardrooms, sealing deals laced with my old bylines twisted into propaganda. But cracks spiderwebbed her facade. The blog leak had birthed a podcast frenzy. Swapgate, dissecting her disappearance with forensic zeal. Pundits on Fox and MSNBC clashed, conspiracy or midlife crisis, while I fueled a fire from burner accounts, dropping surgeons' pseudonyms like breadcrumbs. Evelyn's paranoia bloomed. She fired half her staff, installed facial recog cams that scanned for anomalies. I evaded them with a scarf and slouch. But close calls mounted. Once, her heel nearly crushed my toes in the lobby. Her eyes, my eyes, flickering with unease as if sensing a familiar scent. Deeper I delved, unearthing the vault of secrets she'd buried under layers of NDAs and intimidation. In her office safe, combo gleaned from a drunk intern's ramble, I found the ledger, my parents' hit, commissioned via shell companies, payout in crypto that traced to her first big score. And the embezzlement? Not just funds, but silenced witnesses, addicts paid off or relocated to morgues. I'd borne that cross, rotting in a cell while she climbed, whispering apologies through plexiglass during visits that masked her gloating. It was for us.
Naomi.
The greater good. Greater good. Her gospel.
Now.
It fueled my heresy. I photographed it all on a micro camera sewn into Martha's hem, transmissions bouncing to Ruiz's secure drop. He called. This is dynamite. But if it blows, we're all ash. You sure? Sure? My blood, her blood now, boiled with the certainty of the damned. Controversial calculus. Leak it piecemeal, erode her alliances, or go nuclear. I chose erosion. The slow bleed. Doctor her calendar with phantom meetings at shady clinics. Anonymous tips to her rivals, painting her as unhinged. The mayor. Her paramour. Distanced first, a curt text I intercepted. Ev, if you're shedding skins again, count me out. Panic set in. She doubled down, seducing board members in my skin. Voice husky with desperation. Climax brewed in the bowels of the city. Abandoned warehouse on the west side where the swap had happened. Irony's altar. Graffiti tagged with faded gang tags and the ghosts of prohibition runners. I'd lured her there with a forged email from the doc, promising a reversal procedure to exorcise the glitches plaguing her stolen youth, phantom pains in limbs that weren't hers. Nightmares of Martha's frozen death. She arrived alone, paranoid to the bone. My Beretta swiped from her desk drawer, tucked in her waistband. I waited in shadows, heart hammering against ribs too brittle for the strain. Show yourself, she barked, my timbre laced with fear. I stepped into the cone of a dangling bulb, scarf shed, makeup stripped. Her face, mine blanched. Martha? What the? Wrong. Evelyn. Try again. Recognition dawned like a gut punch. She raised the gun. But I was faster. Arthritic or not, years of yoga in my real body, lending muscle memory. A tackle that sent us sprawling amid rust and rat shit, the Beretta skittering away. We grappled. her youth against my rage, nails raking skin that felt like flaying my own. "You are nothing without me," she hissed, pinning me, breath hot on my neck. "I made you."
Lies.
I bucked, knee to groin, buying seconds to snatch a loose rebar shard. "You broke me. Now watch me mend with your bones." The fight spilled into frenzy. Controversial in its rawness, was I murderer or justice? Her pleas morphed to bargains. "We can swap back, share the power." But trust was a corpse long cold. I bound her with zip ties from the janitor kit, dragged her to the surgical table where I'd lain, straps biting familiar. Ruiz burst in then, swatched shadows at his heels, tipped by my final transmission. "Naomi," he gasped, holstering as medics swarmed. Evelyn thrashed, venom spewing. "She's insane. Kill the hag." But the ledger, the logs, they spoke louder. As they wheeled her away, our eyes locked, hers in my face. Wild. Mine and Martha's.
Steel.
"This isn't over," she mouthed. I smiled, teeth yellowed by time. It was just beginning. Redemption's afterglow faded fast in the harsh fluorescence of Cook County General, where tubes snaked into Martha's veins like for vengeance, pumping fluids that eased the ache but not the void. The swap reversal was experimental, a Hail Mary greenlit by federal prosecutors sniffing indictments. Surgeons, legit ones this time, hovered like vultures, mapping neural bridges with lasers and prayers. "Risky," the lead doc warned, his voice a Brooklyn chew. "Could leave you." Compromised. The word echoed my old trial, when Evelyn's lawyers painted me as the thief, the liar. I signed anyway, pen trembling in fingers that weren't mine. For Naomi's body, for the life she'd hijacked. Weeks blurred in recovery haze, physical therapy that rebuilt atrophied muscles. Therapy sessions unpacking betrayal shrapnel. Ruiz visited, badge off, bearing contraband deep dish from Lou Malnati's. "You did it,
kid."
Mayor's in cuffs. Voss Media's a carcass. But her? She's singing like a canary in Supermax. Everything.
Naomi.
Your folks. The frame job.
The swaps.
She's taking the fall solo. A bomb. But bitter. I'd wanted her ruin, not her confession. Confession meant truth. And truth was the twist I hadn't scripted. Evelyn wasn't the architect. She was the apprentice. It unraveled in a visitor's booth. Plexiglass between us like the walls of our swapped hells. She looked diminished and orange. My old frame softened by stress. Eyes hollowed. No smirk now. Just a plea. "You think I masterminded it?"
God.
Naomi. I was saving us.
Saving.
The word curdled. She spilled. The real puppeteer was Harlan Voss. Her estranged husband. My uncle figure who'd funded the paper's rise. He'd orchestrated the parents' hit to crush my dad's probe, framed me for embezzlement when I got too close post-release. The swap, his black site pet project, testing on vagrants before volunteers. Evelyn had volunteered me to appease him, thinking it'd buy loyalty, her climb over my corpse. But Harlan? He'd played her too, using her as cutout, now testifying against her for immunity, his power untouched in a Cayman penthouse. Twist's knife, I wasn't the victim alone, she was, in her way,
a pawn who'd pawned me.
Controversial calculus anew. Forgive the betrayer. Or burn the board. I walked out, papers in hand. Reversal approved. but Harlan's trail cold. Months later, I stood atop the Willis Tower. Skydeck wind whipping hair that was mine again, dark waves. Not Martha's frost. Body reclaimed, but soul scarred. A mosaic of aches. The exposé ran. Front page Chicago Tribune. The Voss vortex, swaps, scandals, and the souls we steal. Harlan fled, but bounties crossed borders. Evelyn rotted, her letters pleading alliance against him. I burned them, ashes scattering like confetti over the loop. Happy ending? Debatable. I run a pod now. Echoes of exile, amplifying the voiceless, homeless neural scanned against their will. Journalists framed in the AI age. Power's illusion. Betrayal's currency. But in quiet nights, I wonder, if I'd stayed Martha, would the rage have forged something pure? Or was the swap salvation's cruel joke, forcing me to wear another's pain to shed my own? Chicago hums below. Indifferent. I step back from the edge.
Not done yet.
Harlan's coming home. The reversal left me hollowed, like a gourd carved for Halloween tricks. My real skin fitting loose, where Martha's had chafed tight. Chicago welcomed me back with open arms and closed doors, reporters hounding my brownstone for sound bites. Old colleagues at the Trib offering consulting gigs that reeked of pity. Naomi Hargrove, back from the body snatchers, splashed headlines, turning my trauma into clickbait. I dodged them all, holing up with black coffee and burner laptops, chasing Harlan's ghost through digital catacombs. He was a specter of old money, Vanderbilt veins pumping influence from boardrooms to backrooms, the kind of man who donated to orphanages while funding the labs that orphan souls. Evelyn's confession had cracked the vault, but his empire was Teflon shell core in Delaware, politicians on retainer. I needed dirt, the nuclear kind, and for that, I turned to the fringes, the hackers and hustlers who'd once fed my bylines. First stop, the Underwire, a speakeasy hacker den in Wicker Park, neon lit with code scrolling walls like digital graffiti. I'd cultivated netty contacts there during my janitor days. Grizzled coders who saw through my disguise to the fire beneath. Jax, a lanky trans kid with blue-streaked hair and a neural jackport in his temple, slid me a synth beer. Harlan Boss? Dude's a legend in the dark web, runs Echo Protocol, swapping execs' essences for immortality hacks. Your auntie was beta. Auntie. Evelyn, the woman who'd braided my hair at 10, now a punchline in my revenge arc. Jax patched me into a forum. Avatars flickering like fireflies, threads on transference ethics, leaks of patient logs. One file, Harlan's manifesto, scanned from a seized drive. Mortality is the ultimate betrayal. We conquer it by conquest, of flesh, of fate.
Chills.
He'd swapped dozens, CEOs into athletes' primes, rivals into invalids. My parents? Collateral in his first trial run. Their wreck a calibration error. Armed with that, I escalated. Decisions teetering on ethical razors. Controversial? Hell yes. Impersonate a Fed to squeeze a whistleblower. Or go rogue. Rogue One. I posed as Agent Hale, fabricating creds with deepfake vids, cornering Harlan's ex-lab tech in a diner off Michigan Avenue. The guy, twitchy with regret, spilled over pancakes. Boston just swap, he archived. Minds and servers. Bodies on ice. Your mentor? She's got a backup, digital Naomi, waiting to overwrite. Overwrite. The word lodged like a splinter. Evelyn hadn't just stolen my shell. Harlan had cloned my consciousness. A ghost in the machine ready to possess anew. I paid the tech in crypto. Vanished into the night. Mind reeling. Trust eroded further. Who was I? If copyable? The pod launched that week. My voice raw. Unfiltered, detailing the swap's underbelly. Listeners searched, 10K downloads. Debates raging on Reddit. Victim or vigilante. Hargrove's crusade or crackpot. Trolls called me Body Betty. But allies emerged, families of the vanished. Pooling tips. Tension ratcheted as Harlan's countermeasures bit. My brownstone's locks glitched. Doors unlocking at midnight. Drones buzzed windows like mechanical hornets. I moved to a safe house in Logan Square. Ruiz's cousin's attic. Fortified with Faraday cages against hacks. Nights. I pored over Evelyn's letters from Supermax, penned in my looping script. Please laced with intel. Harlan's yacht. The Seraphim. Docks in Miami Quarterly. He's there now. Brokering with cartels for neural black market. Brokering. My gut twisted. She betrayed me. But now bartered scraps for leniency. Forgiveness flickered. Controversial as a plea deal. Ally, with the devil to slay the dragon? I booked a red-eye. Cash for a fake ID. Nora Hale, echo of the Fed ruse. Miami hit like a fever dream. Art Deco facades hiding vice. Humidity clinging like regret. The Seraphim bobbed in Biscayne Bay. White as a lie. Harlan's silhouette on deck. Cigar glowing. Infiltration was suicide poetry. I charmed a deckhand at a waterfront bar, flirty banter in my reclaimed sultry tone. Slipping a sedative into his rum. Aboard under cover of moonless squall, I ghosted corridors, heart-pounding sink to the waves. Harlan's stateroom, walnut panels, a wall of servers humming like a hive. Plugged in my drive. Siphoning terabytes, blueprints for mass swaps. Client lists naming senators.
Stars.
But alarms wailed, security swarmed, tasers crackling. I fought dirty, heel to knee, elbow to throat, channeling Martha's street grit with Naomi's precision. Harlan loomed in the fray. Silver fox in linen. Eyes like chipped ice.
Naomi.
Persistent as your father. My father. The name ignited. I lunged. But goons pinned me. Zip ties biting anew. You should have stayed buried, he drawled. Southern polish over steel. Evelyn was soft. I'm the evolution. Evolution. To what? Monsters in meat suits. As they dragged me to the hold. Servers whirring my doom. I triggered the drive's worm. Data purge. Beacons to feds. Sirens wailed distant. Harlan's empire cracked.
But mine?
Teetering on the twist's edge. Escape was chaos incarnate. The Seraphim listing as Coast Guard cutters sliced the bay like sharks to chum. I slipped bonds with a shard of porcelain from a shattered vase, Martha's resourcefulness reborn, diving overboard into ink-black swells. Swam for a buoy. Lungs burning. Until a patrol boat fished me out. Ruiz's voice crackling over radio. Hargrove? You crazy bitch. You got him. Him. Harlan. Cuffed on deck. His manifesto downloading to every news outlet from NPR to InfoWars. Back in Cheetown. The pod hit viral. Voss vaulted, swaps exposed. Protests erupted, end echo. Marchers in foil hats chanting outside labs. Evelyn's trial fast-tracked. She flipped fully. Testifying in a plea for reduced time. Her words a scalpel. Harlan made me. But Naomi? She unmade us all. Unmade. Poetic. But it left me adrift. Body whole yet fractured by copies untold. The final confrontation brewed, not in courts, but cathedrals of power, the federal hearing on neural ethics, where Harlan's fate hung like a guillotine. I testified, voice steady, weaving betrayal's tapestry, parents' ghosts, my stolen years, Evelyn's pawn role. This isn't science, I hammered. It's slavery with a scalpel. Harlan watched from the dock, unbowed, his lawyer spinning, visionary philanthropy. Twist landed mid-cross, a leaked server fragment. My digital clone activating, Evelyn's backup, Harlan had twisted into a weapon. Hologram flickered in the chamber, my face, young and fierce, mouthing his script. Naomi's unstable. I am the real her. Gasps rippled, doubt seeded. Was I original? Or echo? The room fractured, jurors torn. Media frenzy. Hargrove, human or hack? Controversial, to the core. Forcing reckonings on identity in an age of uploads. I confronted the clone in a secure vault post-hearing. Screens aglow with her, my code. You're me, she purred. Pixels perfect. The better me. Harlan's gift.
Gift.
I smashed the console. Sparks flying like exorcism. Harlan got life. No parole, Evelyn. 25 with supervision.
Me?
I walked free, but haunted. Endings debatable, justice served, or just deferred. Chicago's lights beckon. Pod waiting. I press record. Next episode. Who owns your soul? Fade to black. Not tragic. Not triumphant. Just true. Vindication's high crashed hard against the reefs of reality, leaving me beached in a therapist's office on the Gold Coast, staring at Lake Michigan's choppy gray while unpacking the clone's echo in my skull. Dissociative identity post-trauma, DR. Lena called it. Prescribing neural blockers to mute the phantom whispers, my voice. Harlan script. Debating in dreams. Chicago spun on. Oblivious. Tesla semis rumbling I-90. Influencers live streaming, swap-proof fashion from the Mag Mile. But undercurrents pulled. Death threats from Voss loyalists. Echoers who hailed Harlan as transhuman messiah. I armored up, bodyguards on Ruiz's dime, pistol in my coach bag, and dove deeper, the pod evolving into a movement. Echoes of Exile wasn't just talk, it was toolkit, hotlines for swap survivors, lawsuits against labs. Listeners poured stories, a Wall Street wolf trapped in a teen's body, raging against teen angst, a vet digitized against consent, mind adrift in servers. Each fueled my fire. But betrayal scar-etched, Evelyn's letters piling like unanswered prayers. Her Supermax visits became ritual. Orange jumpsuit a mockery of our shared wardrobe. First one. She gripped the phone. Knuckles white. You won.
Naomi.
But at what cost? Harlan's rotting. But his ideas? They're viral. Viral. She'd seen the forums. Echo protocol code forked by basement geniuses. Controversial bind. Expose more. Risk copycats. Or silence for sanity. I chose exposure. Leaking clone blueprints to ethicists at MIT. Backlash bit. A drive-by at my safe house. Bullets pocking brick as I dove for cover. For the evolution, graffiti screamed. Ruiz hauled in suspects, Harlan's acolytes. Radicalized online. You're stirring a hornet's nest, he growled over stakeout coffee.
Nest.
Understatement. Harlan's trial ballooned into spectacle. Witnesses vanishing. His hologram testimony, deep-faked to claim innocence. I prepped cross. Knights scripting barbs. It didn't conquer death.
Harlan.
You peddled it. Climax crested in a Miami federal court. Humidity thick as judgment. The seraphim impounded outside like a trophy. Harlan took the stand, silver hair coiffed, voice oiled. I sought immortality for humanity's leap. Leap. Into what? Eternal boardrooms. I rose for cross. Heels clicking like countdown. Mr. Voss. Define humanity. Does it include my parents? Roadkill for your calibration. Murmurs swelled. He smirked. Tragic necessity. Necessity. The word ignited. Eyes slammed exhibits, logs, ledgers, painting his swaps as soul trafficking. You archived minds like trophies. My clone? A perversion. Not progress. Jurors shifted, one wiping tears. Then the twist's thunder, Evelyn. Subpoenaed. Shuffled in chains. Objection. Harlan's counsel barked. Overruled. She locked eyes with me, regrets raw edge, and testified. He swapped us both. Used me to lure Naomi, then archived her to control the narrative. But the real secret?
Pause.
Courtroom breath held. Harlan's not original. He's on his third body, a Union soldier from 1863, digitized in the 90s. Immortal? Or parasite? Gasps crashed like waves. Harlan lunged, restrained, his face, borrowed, crackled with static, the swap glitching under stress. Lies, he roared, voice modulating mid-syllable. Chaos. Bailiffs tackling. Feeds cutting to static. The room spun, my world inverting if he was echo.
Was I?
Pure or pilfered. Post-trial frenzy. Harlan convicted. Sentenced to neural isolation. Mind boxed in a server farm. Body comatose. Evelyn's plea sweetened. She walked with time served. Conditions. Testify against labs. Fund survivor aid. I met her at a neutral diner. Range-sheeting windows like confession's veil. Why tell? I demanded. Coffee untouched. She traced the Formica. My old habit. Redemption's a swap too. I took your life, now give back mine.
Give back.
Controversial grace. Hug the Judas? I nodded.
Tentative.
We allied. Her connection's my muscle. Raiding a Cayman's vault. Seizing Harlan's archives. Burned the clone's digital pyre. My face among flames. Goodbye. Ghost, I whispered. But doubts lingered. Forums buzzed with Hargrove hoax, claiming my story fed the machine. Protests turned riots, anti-swap militants torching clinics. Collateral innocence caught. My pod paused. Hiatus announced. Healing before hunting. Yet tension coiled eternal. Harlan's final transmission smuggled out. You can't kill an idea.
Naomi.
We're all echoes. Echoes. It haunted drives along Lake Shore. Wind therapy against the what-ifs. Controversial close. Forgive Evelyn fully. Or sever. I chose severance with strings. Co-host the pod. Her voice as cautionary. Listeners debated episodes. Traitor or turned? Ratings soared. But so did the shadows, new swaps rumored. Harlan's code mutating. I armed better. Neural firewall implant. Gun range Sundays. Chicago's pulse quickened. Mind sinking, dark. Tense. American as apple pie a la mode with arsenic. The alliance with Evelyn teetered on trust's tightrope. Our first join-op a test by fire. Infiltrating a rogue lab in Detroit. Harlan's splinter cell peddling budget swaps to desperate celebs. We posed as buyers, me the starlet seeking eternal youth. Her the financier with deep pockets. Tension hummed electric. Her hand on my arm felt foreign. Maternal ghost in thief's guise. "You trust me," she murmured in the van. Rain-lashed Motor City streets blurring. Like a loaded gun, I shot back. Inside, sterile halls echoed with whimpers, patience mid-transference, eyes vacant. We hacked the mainframe, my fingers flying code Jax taught. Evelyn distracting guards with old charm. Alarms blared. We bolted. Drives fat with manifests. But twists barb, a file named Naomi_final. Opened on route, blueprints for my optimized clone. Harlan's tweak, ruthless, unscarred. He wanted perfection, Evelyn said, voice cracking. Perfection. My flaws made me, betrayals forge. We torched the lab remotely. Flames licking sky on live feed. Victory.
Pyrrhic.
Back in Chi. The pod relaunched. Allies and antidotes. Evelyn's segments raw. I was the villain.
Now.
Vestige. Debates exploded. Redemption real or ruse? Threats escalated. A pipe bomb at the studio.
Defused by feds.
Ruiz pulled strings. Witness protection light. New ID pending. But I refused erasure. Naomi Hargrove dies. The story dies. I told him.
Story.
That's what it was, dark fable for the digital age. You and as a noir real. Nights. Evelyn and I schemed over takeout. Walls thawing. Your folks, they were proud, she offered once. Photo from the vault. Me at 8. Gap-toothed grin.
Proud.
It cracked something, tears hot. Unbidden. Controversial catharsis. Love the betrayer? Perhaps. But Harlan's echo lingered. Code fragments spawning cults. Ending loomed debatable, triumph in tandem. Or tragedy's tango. Legacy's weight settled like fog over the prairie. Thick and unyielding. As I stood at the grave site in Graceland Cemetery, wilted roses marking my parents' stone. Hargrove. Etched simple. No epitaph for the silenced. Evelyn flanked me. Uncharacteristically silent. Her old wool coat draped over shoulders against October's bite. Chicago's elite buried here, mayors, moguls, whispers of scandals long dust. Ours? Fresh rot. The pod had morphed into a nonprofit. EchoWatch. Lobbying Congress for soul rights bills, banning non-consensual swaps, mandating mind audits. Victories tallied. 3 labs shuttered. Harlan's code classified malware. But shadows lengthened. His acolytes rebranded eternalists, preaching upload utopia in VR churches. Recruits swelling with the desperate, terminally ill. Aging boomers chasing youth hacks. My face, cloned in memes, became their martyr. Hargrove was half-swap, embrace the whole. Evelyn's redemption arc drew fire. Pundits on CNN decrying Fox and Henhouse. Survivors picketing our offices with signs. Betrayers don't reform. Controversial core. Could Venom turn to Venom's antidote? Our joint keynotes packed halls. Her contrition clashing my fire. I stole a life.
Now.
I guard them. QNS turned battlegrounds, hecklers shouting. You swapped first. Once. In St. Louis. A bottle flew. Security swarmed. After. In the green room. She bled from a cut lip. My reflection in the mirror mocking. Worth it? I asked. Dabbing antiseptic. For you? Yes. Yes. The word bridged chasms. Tentative as a truce. We delved Harlan's remnants together, decoding his Cayman's troves, tracing funds to politicians who'd greenlit his labs. One name, Senator Hale. My Fed ruse's ironic echo. Now sponsoring innovation freedom, bills to deregulate neural tech. We leaked it. Pod episode, puppets and payoffs, dropping bombshells. Audio of kickbacks. My voiceover grave. Power doesn't swap bodies, it swaps souls. Climax's embers reignited in D.C. The Capitol's marble halls echoing our heels like judgment's gavel. Hale's hearing on soul rights. Us testifying. Harlan's hologram cued as expert rebuttal. Tension crackled. Reporters crammed. C-SPAN lights hot as interrogation lamps. Hale pontificated. Progress demands risk. Risk. For whom? The elite evading death. Or the rest fodder. Evelyn led. I was risk's architect. It devours. Then me. Slides flashing swaps horrors. Martha's frozen eyes. My cell block scars. Senator. Your freedom is license for larceny. Murmurs built. Hale sweated. Harlan's hollow flickered on. My cloned face. Serene. Naomi speaks from trauma. I offer truth. Immortality unites us. Unites. In chains? The chamber erupted. Protests outside swelling. No ghosts in the machine, chance. I triggered the kill code. Jax's parting gift. Hollow glitched. Harlan's third face bleeding through. Bearded Civil War soldier. Eyes wild. Betrayal eternal. It warbled before flatlining. Chaos. Hale adjourning. Feds cuffing aides. Bill passed. Narrow, soul rights enshrined. Swaps criminalized. But Twist Serpent uncoiled in the aftermath. A encrypted file from Harlan's server pinging my secure line. Dearest Echo, you've won the war. But the peace? Yours to poison. Attached, Evelyn's medicals, brain scans from Supermax. Anomalies glowing. She'd lied, not fully reformed. Harlan had archived her too. A sleeper code in her neurons, primed to overwrite me during our next alliance op. Betrayal's Hydra. She'd known. Delayed confession for the hearing win. I confronted her at O'Hare. Flight to a victory gala delayed by storms. The file, I said. No preamble. Tablet thrust. Her face crumpled, my old mask of guilt. I found it post-testimony. Meant to extract.
But.
Time ran.
Time.
Always the thief. You used me again. Voice cracked.
Raw.
She reached. I flinched.
No.
This time. I chose you.
Chose.
Controversial terminus. Excise the code. Risk her mind. Or let it lurk. We boarded in silence. Storm breaking as wheels lifted. Gala in the clouds. Metaphors bite. Echo watch fate at the Drake. Chandeliers dripping light on tuxes and gowns. Toasts rang. To Naomi and Evelyn, sisters in the swap. Sisters. Irony curdled champagne. Midway, as Evelyn networked, I slipped to the balcony. City sprawl a glittering lie. She joined. Code confession heavy. Extract now, or live with the ghost.
Ghost.
Harlan's legacy. I called Jax midair, remote hack viable. But dicey. 60% her mind intact. Do it, I said. As servers hummed distant, she gripped rails. Face contorting, echoes warring. Tell them. I was wrong. But right. Too.
Right.
In ruin. Redemption. Code purged. She slumped. Medics rushing.
Coma.
Doc said, neural backlash. I held vigil. Machines beeping like Morse. Debatable end. Epilogue dawned gray. Evelyn woke partial. Aphasia slurring words, but eyes clear, sore.
Sorry.
Enough? I visited daily, reading pod scripts aloud. Her nod the absolution. Echo Watch thrived. Bands globalizing. But Eternalists lurked. New messiahs coding swaps in shadows. My book deal landed. Swapped. A memoir of bodies and betrayals. Bestseller. Debates eternal. Hero's journey or hubris. I walk Chicago streets. Body mine. Soul spliced. Martha's grit. Evelyn's guile. Naomi's nerve. Happy? Tragic? Ask the reader. Harlan's cell echoes empty. He uploaded final. Virus in the net. But in my mirror, one face stares back. I smile. Teeth even. Your move. Echo. Fade out on the L's rumble. Dark. Tense. Unending American dream.